Good afternoon, everybody. This is WNBA Insider, Isaac Benjamin and R.A. Schwartz talking playoffs. We are both pretty sick with head colds, but the playoffs don't wait for anybody. And we're coming to you first with a preview of tomorrow's game between the Wings and the Mystics. R.A., I know that you hate this new playoff system. You want to let everybody know in a quick joint why it really is not fair?
So I think briefly, and again I'll keep it short. This could be a whole ongoing topic. The first round I'm okay with, and I understand why it's do or die, one game elimination. I think the second round, when you have the third and the fourth best team in the league, they deserve, and they have proven they deserve, not only home court advantage, but they also deserve a best 2 out of 3 minimum. So it's not, last year we had New York Liberty, who were arguably the second best team in the league, and they got knocked out real quick after one game against a team that was ranked way below them. I think this is a big change that we could do, and the league should consider for the upcoming seasons. But back to tomorrow's game and the highlight, Washington Mystics will take on, at home, the Dallas Wings. We all know Dallas got a big spotlight on them as title viewed or screened their game on Sunday, the final game of the season, with all proceeds going to hurricane relief, which is very, very nice of them. Obviously, Skylar Diggins had a connection with that. I think the interesting part right here is the scoring leaders from each team are only 1 point apart. Skylar Diggins-Smith, who has, in my opinion, been completely ignored by the league as far as the output she's put in this season, is at 18.5 points a game, while Elena Deladon, kind of one of the bigger name stars of the league, and part of a big postseason or off-season trade, is only averaging 19.7. I say only because I think we all expected her to lead a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I think the league has got to love this matchup, as a one-on-one. In the other game, you've got some old school stars who've been around for a while, and very clearly between Skylar Diggins-Smith and Elena Deladon, you've got the stars who are going to be taking the league to the next decade, really. It's a story of Skylar really showing everybody that she's the star everybody thought of, and Elena Deladon coming back at the right time. You're from DC. I know you watch a lot of the games. What have you seen in the couple of games that Elena Deladon's come back? How have they changed from what they were doing while she was out for an extended period of time?
Well, I think it's really interesting. Without Elena Deladon, they've kind of looked a lot more like last year's team, which just missed the playoffs, which was really, highlighting Emma Miesemann, their height down low, kicking the ball out, and playing a fast-paced, drive and kick offense. I'm excited to see, though, and I don't think we've really had a chance to see this, is what will happen with this nucleus as Emma Miesemann, Chrissy Tolliver, and Elena Deladon form together. The question really is, can they play together as a cohesive unit, which you really haven't seen all season, or is what's going to happen is basically there isn't enough ball movement or enough sharing for all of them to get their piece of the pie. I think it's really interesting to see, will this team take that next step to what a lot of people expected, or are they going to kind of continue what they've been doing all season?
And I wonder, how does Elena Deladon slow them down compared to the pace that we're working on before?
Yeah, it's really interesting because to say one of the best players in the league slows down her team, which is in the playoffs, is kind of mind-boggling. But I honestly think they do, mainly because, and this has been an ongoing point throughout the season that I've brought up, I don't think Coach Tebow has been doing the greatest. He's a great coach, don't get me wrong, but he hasn't been doing a great job of, saying, okay, this is what Deladon's good at, this is what Miesemann's good at, because they play a very similar role in the team, and he's been struggling to kind of figure out, okay, how can we split that whole pie into 2 pieces, but still get major production from both of our key players? And it's been this ongoing struggle. I think the problem really is Deladon takes away from what Miesemann has been used as recently.
Yeah. Let's talk about Dallas for a second. Dallas, I love Dallas's front court. Britt Johnson, one of my favorite players. She's awesome. Can they keep up with Deladon, who's going on all cylinders?
That's a really good question. I tweeted this out earlier this week. I'm excited to see what I call the three-headed monster. Glory Johnson, Skylar Diggins, and Karima Christmas Kelly. Because Glory Johnson has been going off some nights and just controlling the down low. The front court is hers. Then you got Skylar.
I don't think there's anybody who's definitely better.
No, exactly. I mean, she's not been getting the due respect that she deserves this season. She's having a great season, putting up huge points, huge rebounds, and huge emotional plays, which obviously always goes under the stat line. But I'm really excited to see can Skylar kind of take her team and say, obviously Glory Johnson is the vet on this team, and she's kind of the leader in certain ways. But on the court, Skylar really needs to take the reins and say, I'm feeding the ball to you. This is your turn. Shine a little bit. Now I'm going to take it because the team's struggling. And the way that they have the ability to kind of make teams play their basketball because they play so physical is why so many elite basketball minds have been saying you do not want to face Dallas in the playoffs. Dallas is kind of the underdog in this season. Everybody knows Seattle is, they had all this talent, but they've been underperforming. Everybody knows the Mystics have all this talent, they've been underperforming. The real question now is, okay, Dallas, you flew under the radar, you're the youngest team in our playoffs, what can you do next?
Right, I think everybody knew this team could be good, came out of nowhere that they were so good, so dangerous. They're really good. And I don't think the fact that I don't think that their preseason rankings really should be held against them. They're really good. When it comes down to it, what has to happen for Dallas to leave as a winner?
For Dallas to leave as a winner, I think it's pretty cut and dry. Make sure the Mystics never get going outside the arc. The second they get going outside the arc, you're in trouble if you're Dallas. Because Dallas is a team that, again, they play a physical ball and they control the paint. So Mystics, who have 3 of the top 10 3-point percentage shooters of last season, not this season, but still a high percentage, Dallas needs to say, okay, we're obviously going to control the paint, but can we stop you and keep you at a low percentage from 3? If they do that, I see Dallas moving on.
How do they do that?
I think it's going to be a lot of up-in-your-face press basketball. And if you get Elena Deladon, the Mystics are not a team that hands in their face, they're going to be able to handle it. I call it the Elena Beard syndrome. You need to be in their face. When they're off the ball, follow them. I mean, this is just classic good defense techniques that you use to shut down top-tier players. Off-the-ball defense is going to be key, especially when you're talking about outside of the arc.
Right. All right, let's turn this around. If Washington's outside shots, are not going in, how can they still win?
They need to get Glory Johnson in foul trouble, and they need to keep Skylar Diggins guessing the whole game. Skylar Diggins is, in my opinion, the Skylar and the Glory connection of Glory is going to control down low. Get her frustrated, get her in foul trouble. Take the ball to her. Okay, if you can get her in foul trouble early, I think the team has a lot of leeway and might be playing with a good handicap there.
Whose bench do you like better?
Whose bench?
Yeah.
That's a tough question. Honestly, I'm going to have to go with Mystics on this one. Mystics has a lot of firepower, a lot of youth on the bench, and a lot of vet presence. They have a nice mix. Ivory Latta hasn't really shown up this season like we all expected her to. I expect her to have a big game off the bench. But the real question is Tibbs even going to use the bench?
Yeah. I mean, isn't he the most winningest coach of all time?
He is. So
he knows how to play. He knows, when I was in Connecticut, he led that Connecticut reign of almost a decade ago, I guess.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
It was a long time ago. What coaching do you like? Do you like the coach that's really fired off this young crew and really gotten them inspired to play playoff basketball? Or do you like the old master who's working in an all-star?
I gotta say I'm going with, some might call it a high take. I'm going with Dallas on this one. They're young, they're aggressive. Everybody kind of knows the Mystics, and I think this was kind of eye-opening to Coach Thibodeau of the Mystics, where he's got a few things to look at himself. I don't think he's using the firepower, like I said earlier. I don't think he's using the firepower properly. Okay, when you have such amazing talent, it's much more of a question of, okay, that was my game plan. That's how I ran things. Let me break it down and recreate it with the tools and the things that I have now. I see Dallas winning this one, pulling away, making it a clear win with just under a minute or two left, maybe like a final of a 9-point win. Really disappointing for Mystics fans who expected to move a lot further and have a better regular season record. But I just think Dallas is striving. Skylar Diggins in her first playoff appearance, really trying to put her name on the map and cement her as a top guard in this league.
I agree. I really agree with you. I think that especially in this one-off new playoff system, momentum rules. Momentum rules. And the Wings are going on full force. Didn't they just take New York to the final buzzer?
Yeah.
And New York's playing obviously the best ball in the league, and Dallas kept with them possession for possession. I think momentum kills it. I think excitement kills it. I think they go into the Verizon Center the last time that the Mystics are ever playing in the Verizon Center. And how Mystics is that? The last game in the Verizon Center, and they blow it.
Yeah, and exactly. And I think as we touched on before, I don't see the Mystics bench being that effective in the game. Their bench is much better, and I think maybe if the bench is used, they will pull off the win. But when you have such an all-star lineup that has gotten so much notoriety and talked about in this league, I think, even though he's a vet, legendary coach, he's going to feel some pressure, especially if they're losing or if they're down by a little bit, halfway into the second half. He starts thinking, okay, well, I need to use my star power. Star power gets a little tired. Come, the last 5 minutes, Dallas is a team that strives on that, and they play that aggressive ball all day long. Again, I think Dallas pulls this one off, and looking at a round 2.
You heard it here, guys. Two fellas, both under the weather, both with hot takes that Dallas is going to beat Washington, move on to the second round.